Hi there, I'm Maysumi, and today I'm going to be analyzing the Amazing Digital Circus. Specifically, what can Jax's body language tell us about Ribbit and Kaufmo? In episode 6, when Jax is sitting on the floor after Pomni ran away after Zooble, Jax notices the doors of his abstracted friends. When he looks at Kaufmo's door, he looks angry and maybe a bit deflective. When he looks at Ribbit's door though, his shoulders loosen. He looks a bit shocked, or maybe even in denial. It's like his mind was getting snapped back into reality. Maybe he even feels guilty, or possibly even all of these feelings at once. At the very least, Jax didn't look angry. When Jax said this line,
"You don't even know what people are like before they abstract. They are not pleasant to be around, like at all."
We might first assume that this line is talking about both Ribbit and Kaufmo, but because of his body language regarding Ribbit, paired with the fact that Jax says he in his rant, I don't think the statement is about Ribbit too. I think it's reasonable to assume that in Jax's mind, he sees Pomni almost like a parallel to Ribbit. When Pomni rushes off, he reaches out to Pomni with a sad and worried expression because he doesn't want her to leave. This got me thinking, I wonder if Jax actually feels responsible for what caused Ribbit to abstract. What if part of why Jax pushes Pomni away so strongly isn't just because he doesn't want to get hurt, but because he doesn't want to hurt Pomni and cause her to abstract too? Now, this idea might sound like it's based on nothing, but I do actually have a theory for why Jax could feel like Ribbit's abstraction was his fault. In the bar scene in episode 5, Jax is confused that Pomni worked at a supermarket, which seems to imply to me that Jax has a general assumption of what type of people would end up in the game. This makes me very curious if him and the others worked for the company that made the game. We don't factually know how anybody other than Pomni ended up in the circus, but we can assume that Zooble probably got there in a similar way to her because she also explored abandoned buildings. For Kinger, there's evidence that suggests he worked on the game, when he mentions his experience with computer science and the guilt he felt about dragging his wife into the circus. Ragatha and Gangle both never mentioned working for a game development company, although because the game has so few people inside it, we can assume it was never released to the public. This makes me wonder if they were actually both playtesters for the game. For now, we don't know anything about Jax's past in concrete evidence. But what if Jax was a programmer, or someone who had a lot of relevance in designing how the program would trap people inside, whether he knew it or not? This would cause a lot of personal issues for him, so he would definitely want to hide it. Imagine back in the past when Jax would have been first getting used to living in the circus. He probably acted normal with the others, like Ribbit and Kaufmo, bonding with them, until eventually they came to learn that he was, at least partly, to blame for them being trapped there. They turn on him, and the distress of realizing that their friend is why they're trapped there causes them to abstract. What if this is the main reason why Jax feels like he can't allow himself to connect or be vulnerable with anybody? Now you might think, but May, Kinger has been in there longer than Jax. I hear you, dear viewer, but this doesn't necessarily make this theory impossible either. What if Kinger knows this about Jax, but because he might have also worked on the game, because he's crazy and has a poor grasp on his memory, and just because he's a kind person that wouldn't wish to inflict harm on Jax, he doesn't tell anybody about his secret? Another detail that supports this theory is a moment in episode 6. Pomni says she's learning a lot about him, and Jax doesn't react well to it, deflecting the focus of the conversation back towards the gun game. He may be traumatized from people learning about him, and so this would obviously make him worry. I think this theory would explain a lot to us about Jax's behavior and why he developed his coping mechanism of keeping himself distant from the others. What do you think about this theory? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, I also made a video theorizing multiple different ways that they might escape or never escape the circus, and I'd love if you watched it. I'll see you next time. Maysumi out.